Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the X Podcast. My name is Brenda Rigney, and I am a business coach. I work specifically with midlife women, entrepreneurs, and business owners, and what I love to say, corporate dropouts. People like me 6 years ago that decided to take a leap and go into entrepreneurship from their corporate experience. So I'm also the host of the Aligned AF community, where members in our community are aspiring entrepreneurs and business owners that are looking to launch and scale their dream business. Today, what I want to talk about is things I've learned over the last few years, but have really come to fruition as I move forward into this evergreen business stage in my life, but also in the Aligned AF community. And I'm super excited to share some of the learnings with you today, because I think this whole definition of evergreen business, as much as we like it or espouse to have it in our businesses, we don't know exactly what that looks like. So some of us might be on the precipice of creating this evergreen business. Some of us are like, no, I want to be more hands-on. And I want to challenge all of you about this whole, I want to be hands-on. I want to be working with people one-to-one, doing things side hustle from, the side of my desk, ad hoc, when it's really about, I think, especially for us as women entrepreneurs, juggling all the things that we juggle, challenges around our health, especially as we're navigating through perimenopause and menopause. Why do we need to do all the things? I just want to ask that big question of all of you, and feel free to drop something in the chat, because I was there 6 years ago. I was there even like 2 years ago, doing all the things, masterminding all this creation in my business. And it really drove me to a point where, not that I didn't like my business, but I felt like I had to continually pivot my business in new directions. And I want to say now I've been in this evergreen process for the last 18 to 24 months, and there's nothing that I want to change. I'm just keep progressing in this steady pace moving forward and refining my messaging, refining my offers, and refining who I continually work with. So let's start off with number one, doing things in the right order. Now, I'm not saying that you need to follow a 10-step process that I've got laid out, but doing things in the right order, as in have a priority, complete that priority, cross the finish line on it, or at least get 80% of the way there before we ditch it and go into something else. I often see people shifting their priorities, talking about 20 different things online. And once you get established in your signature offer and what you want to be known for, it really helps simplify those priorities. I want to take my own version of Greg McGowan's Essentialism book, where he talks about priorities. And the word priorities actually derives from the Latin word priority, which means one focus, one thing to concentrate on. And in corporate America and in business, we seem to have kind of taken liberties with the term priority and made it priorities. It was never supposed to be multiple priorities, multiple focuses. It's always supposed to be derived from the word priority, which means one. So that's where I challenge all of you. Look at your to-do list right now, and there might be 20 tasks that you need to get done, but do they all go back to that one priority that you are focusing in on your business right now? So doing things in the right order and focusing on what is that one priority right now. Is it getting your brand presence out there? Is it building your lists? And we'll talk about more of those things and how that contributes to an evergreen business. The second thing that ends up happening is that once you establish that priority, that one focus, you continually are reinventing yourself in that space. Whereas one of the things that I noticed in the last 6 years in my business, when I was shifting or pivoting or bringing on different types of clients, is not that I wasn't reinventing myself, but it was almost like I had to start at the start line again. And what I'd love to challenge you with is with your evergreen business is that you're not necessarily starting again. You're just continuing to take us another step forward and another step forward. And that in itself reinvents you. You're still establishing that level of expertise with your audience, and you're still challenging some of those old beliefs that you had, letting go of the things that aren't serving you, and moving forward with the new beliefs that are really important to you. And an example could be transitioning out of working with clients one-to-one and working in that one-to-many space. Even when I look back on some of my offers that I had over the last 3-5 years, when I started getting into group masterminds, I still felt like I was working with people one-to-one, but in a group environment. So it actually just compounded the amount of work that I'm doing. Whereas now I've really shifted my work to being one-to-many. And how can I like create one thing, one asset, one tool that I know will impact many people in the specific niche that I'm working in. So not one to many as in 8 billion people on the planet and juggling all the specific needs that they have, but really figuring out what are my hidden talents? What is my expertise? How do I want to be known for that? And then continually offering the best services, the best offers to that specific group of people that I know I can deliver on a regular basis. And that I feel like contributes to that evergreen business because I'm not having to reinvent myself in the sense of like, here's a brand new Brenda, but just reinventing how I show up, how I continually expand on that content. This process can sometimes be painful, but it's absolutely necessary when innovation comes in. If we're constantly pivoting, number one, our clients and our prospective clients, they're just trying to keep up with us. And the rate of consumption right now, I think for most human beings on the planet that live with digital products like iPhones, etc., our attention span has gone down to about 8 seconds or less. So if you are constantly changing your messaging, changing your offers, changing how you position yourself, just remember that your audience is probably 3, 4, 6 months behind you. And so just as you start perfecting that messaging and then your audience is just started catching up to where you are, and then you shift again. So think about reinvention as like refinement versus I have to be constantly changing colors. The third element that I think is really important when we're talking about evergreen businesses and getting into this place where not that our business is completely on autopilot, it's almost like the term almost evergreen, but it's really addressing those limiting beliefs that we have about ourselves. And I think until we address the limiting beliefs, whether that's rooted in money, whether that's rooted in our confidence and us showing up, we are always going to be chasing shiny objects. And one of the things that I've let go of is the shiny object syndrome. Like I have to work with, and a shiny object to me could be like a coach that I want to work with, a new website design that I need to do, something that, a trend that I see on Instagram. It's like, oh yeah, I think my clients would like that. So I need to start offering that. Versus this is what I am known for. This is what I'm really good at, being focused on the fact that there's 8 billion people on the planet and I don't need to serve all of those people and neither do you. So being really clear about what you have to offer and then being okay with like repelling some people that aren't necessarily going to resonate with your offer. And that takes a lot of courage. That takes a lot of resiliency and fortitude. And until I think you do that inner work of what you are known for, what you value, what you want to continue to offer the world, and not on someone else's agenda or value system or inherited beliefs, then I think, you're going to be constantly changing and shifting, and it's going to be hard for your audience to keep up. And so it's not going to feel like an evergreen business. It's going to feel like flavor of the month. And so that's something that I've had to continually explore and doing that inner work, which I think is so important. The fourth thing that I want to start to talk a little bit about is the whole aspect of niching down. And when we niche down, I think in the beginning, when we're starting our business, it's okay to be offering different services, understanding what your audience is looking for, not feeling like you have to be anchored in one sort of modality or belief. And you're also kind of discovering yourself. I mean, that's one of the things that I've learned the biggest in entrepreneurship is when I was in corporate, it was okay to be a generalist in some things. And even as a generalist and hiring specialists on my team, I could literally get away with knowing some things and not knowing some other things. But I think in your own business, when you try and create this facade of like doing everything to everybody, it does feel really exhausting and it's hard to maintain it. So by niching down, number one, your workload, oh my gosh, your workload can be completely cut in half in some cases. When you niche down, you can be so much more authentic about what you deliver, and it just feels like home. You're not espousing to create something for somebody just because that's like the hot trend on Instagram right now, but you're actually showing up authentically. And I think your clients see that very clearly. I just actually had a member in my community leave me a voice text this morning saying, Brenda, how do you create this evergreen business and do it authentically and have all the components of your business just line up in like this integrated way? And what I mean by that is that like they see my emails, they see the offers inside the community. They see how I show up on social media, how I'm showing up maybe on this YouTube channel, and they're like, it all is interconnected. And I'll share what that looks like in just a couple minutes. But I also want you to think about this whole concept of niching down. I'm not afraid now in my business to just tell people, you know what, I'm not the person to help you. You should really go to this person over here. And how that's also benefited me is I work with different various partners. I align with them. We even do affiliate programs together because that also symbolizes the fact that I don't know everything. I don't want to know everything. I actually want to get outside and do other things besides my business. So by niching down, it just gives you more freedom to have this evergreen business. It does mean, though, that you're going to say no to some people. And so in the beginning, I think as an entrepreneur, that could be really scary. So I would say to anybody that's listening, if this is like year one for you in your business, try working with multiple people, try offering different things, see what lands really well for your clients, your customers, and also see what you love delivering on. And that just comes naturally to you. You won't know that sometimes until you actually practice. No, and it's different for everybody because like in my corporate job, again, I mentioned I was a generalist. And so I'd like been developed since the age of like 21 to lead and develop people and lead teams of people and lead people across multiple strategies and projects. I didn't wake up one morning and say, oh, I want to be a graphic designer and I want to be really good at doing X, Y, and Z. I hired those people to be on my teams to do that work. And so the idea of going into business for myself, I really had to explore, well, what do I want to continue to do? Because this was an opportunity for me. I could have just stayed in my corporate job and worked in what I was doing for another 20, 25 years, collected my golden paycheck, go into retirement, off into the sunset. But now I'm actually starting my own business. I need to figure out like what I'm really good at and what do I love delivering on and what do my clients actually need from me. And so that took me some time to really understand that. And that's not always like a safe space to be in as an entrepreneur, because obviously it's like I've got an income, I've got people that count on me, I have kids, I've got dogs, I've got to like provide a roof over my head. I can't just be like playing. So I was making money and I was catering to a lot of different people, but it never felt like home for me. And until I made that shift of going into an evergreen business, of creating a signature offer and repelling some people that I know are never going to work with me or not work with me because they're not at that stage in business or in their stage in their life, I had to get okay with that. Which, if you can see now, it like that ties into focusing on one thing, right? Doing the right thing in the right order, or getting clear on those limiting beliefs, because it would be so easy for me. And there were definitely some dark days where I would fall into that limiting belief of like, I'm never going to be able to make any money if I just focus in on this one type of customer. And now that I've been at it and just refining it and completely doing it, I like the possibilities of where this business can go is endless for me. And it's super exciting because I'm 55 and I know I could be doing this business at 75. The way I've designed it from a time, a space, resources, and what I've got in front of me. So niching down and repelling some customers is going to be okay. In the beginning, when you think about it, you're like, no, I just need everybody and anybody. And once you get to that level where it's like, I don't, and I can actually see a business being created for myself with this specific audience, it feels really good. The other thing that I've learned that's so important as far as putting in place to have this evergreen business is valuing time over money. In the beginning, when I was starting my business, money was the most important thing, right? I needed to make money. I needed to pay myself. I needed to pay vendors. And so I had to be really careful about where I was investing money. Sometimes I was careful, sometimes I wasn't. I think this is what I learned from corporate. I was always spending somebody else's money. So taking risks didn't feel like a big deal to me. And I've always been a bit of a risk taker, a pioneer. People would throw me into startup situations, turnaround situations, and I would make it happen. I also created a belief for myself, like in order to make money, you need to spend money. And I used to bet on myself quite a bit. And an example would be, maybe corporate would say to me, you only need 25 people working on a Monday to get what you needed done in your business. But I'd be like, no, I know if I bring in these 3 employees, this is examples from my retail days. If I bring in these 3 employees who are high performers for me, I will surpass any revenue goal that I thought I would ever be able to do today. And we used to track things like sales per hour, and I would know who were the sales associates that drove more business for me. And so I would take a chance. And this is like in the early days when I first started scheduling people and learning about the business. We used to do all of this stuff manually, hands-on, but then we brought in automated systems into retail environments because we wanted to have more control, right? And I get that. So a lot of managers lost that intuitive risk-taking ability, but because I had been there when we were doing this all manually, I learned to trust myself. I learned to trust my instincts. They were all backed with data and analytics, and I would make those investments. So, but I see this all too often with new entrepreneurs. And I think that's an okay place to be in your first couple of years, is not putting investments into your business because you're so concerned about the money coming in and out. But once you start taking chances and taking risks and believing in what you have to offer, I think when you get into that evergreen stage of your business, it's not so much about holding onto the money tightly. It's now actually holding onto your time. Like your time becomes more of the value. And I could see that when I worked with clients one-to-one, when I was working on multiple types of offers and putting myself out there and just sort of like scattering seeds to the wind to see who would pick things up, I would probably be sacrificing more of my time. And in the end, not maybe making as much money. Now I've kind of inverted that model to be, no, my time is absolutely precious. So when I'm going to work with a vendor, an expert, a coach, I need to see that that is working in my favor and that actually generates income for me. But my time is absolutely valuable. And just as an example, like I finished up one mastermind last year in 2024, and it was effective and I got lots out of it. And then I was looking for the next mastermind because I'm always looking at upskilling myself and learning from others, people that are like 1 or 2 steps ahead of me. And I joined this one in the fall based off of some recommendations that I had from other colleagues. And really what I wanted to get out of this mastermind was more connections, more collaborations, more partnerships with other business owners, doing podcast swaps and getting in front of new audiences. And I guess the person that was running it had sort of changed their methodology because the people that had recommended this group had said, oh yeah, that's what this is all about. And we got so much out of it over the last couple of years. So I was like, score, winner. This is what I want to sign up for. And when I jumped in, it was kind of a slow start, which kind of alerted me to like, okay, well, when am I going to actually see some ROI on this? And then the second thing that was a red flag for me was that it wasn't about that. It was more about like, oh, getting on calls and ruminating and learning from each other, like peer coaching around our businesses. And that's not what I wanted. I wanted collaborations and I wanted partnerships and I wanted like to see my list grow through other communities. And likewise, I would reciprocate by giving them access into my communities and into my membership audience. So I went to the organizer and I just said, I'm sorry, but this is not what I signed up for. It's not going to be a good use of my time and money because I was investing quite a bit of money into it month to month. And they understood. And I was just like, great. Like that was important to me. Now, not all providers are going to do that. Like you buy it and you're done. But I'm seeing that starting to change now in the online space. So if there's not something that you're getting value for with your time, I think that is an indicator for evergreen business owners to really be conscious of. Like you need to see that ROI on your time. And I want to have a business where I can be earning the revenue that I most desire, but that it allows me time to go on vacations, to spend time with my kids who are all remote for me, to get outside and walk the dogs. And I've built that. And now I'm excited to see, what else I can create now that I've got more time, more space, more capacity. And create doesn't necessarily mean create in my business, but create in my life, my health, my wealth. The other element that I think has been really important to me is kind of what I just sort of touched on, that time becomes more valuable than money. And so it's also these non-quantifiable goals that I have in my business. Like community building has become more and more important to me. And in the past, I would have worked with clients in high ticket offers for my one-to-one or my group masterminds. And a lot of that was through referrals or connecting with like one person on LinkedIn and nurturing that one relationship in the DMs and then having them see my high ticket offer and buying it. And that would be great. But now what I'm doing is I'm actually cultivating this community, which is so important to me, and building that sort of like richness of relationship, because I see this sort of like more of this evergreen business and how profitable it is for me. So by building those communities, building partnerships, doing exchanges, helping people be successful in their own audience and list building growth is like something that's really important to me. And I'm seeing it more and more. And going back to, again, that member that mentioned, hey, Brenda, I'm noticing this with you. Like, because I'm doing that more intentionally now, I think the results are compounding in that it's attracting audiences that also want that don't want to be kind of like living from client to client, living from offer to offer, but seeing more of that compounded value in what they're providing. And so how this shows up for me, just as far as a non-quantifiable gain, is that I'm not interested so much in followers on social media anymore, likes, views. Like I used to be devastated when things didn't perform well for me. I'm looking at more list building and growing my email list and nurturing those relationships. And through analytics that I own, not another platform owns, I'm actually learning more about the people that my content is resonating with, and then how my offers and nuances and refinements in my offers benefit them. So I want you to kind of think about that, because I think in the early days, it's always about revenue. And we see that a lot in the coaching space. The messaging is starting to shift, maybe because I'm not following those people anymore. And so the algorithm isn't necessarily pushing that content to me. But it used to be so much about getting to 6 figures, getting to multi 7 figures, getting to this, getting to that. And it was always about the money. And I think that there's other quantifiable measures and goals that we need to have in our business. Like a quantifiable measure to me that I love in my life right now is how many dog walks we can get in the week. And I know that sounds maybe silly, but it would be something when I wasn't living with Scott and I was on my own and I didn't have my kids for the week. Now my kids are adults and they live on their own. But when I didn't have my kids for the week and they were over at their dad's, I would just like work like a dog on things. And I wouldn't take necessarily breaks. I ended up stop wearing my Apple Watch because it would just be annoying me. Like, you got to get up, you need to go for a walk. And I'd be like, I'll do it when I want to do it. Don't tell me what to do. And I just totally went into my business. But now living with Scott, one of the quantifiable goals that I have or gains is like, can we add more to our walks? Can we go longer? Can we go farther? Can I wear a weighted vest? Like, I'm challenging the walk process. And he's actually, while I'm recording this episode, he's actually away in Peru this week with his kids. And so I was surprised. I thought I would give up on the dog walks, but I'm actually doing it on my own. So that to me is a quantifiable gain that I want to celebrate, is that I would have just naturally said, you know what, dogs just go in the backyard or we'll just go around the block so that they can do their business. But no, we did our big walk yesterday and I wore my weighted vest and it was a nice sunny day and it just got me out of the house. And that's a quantifiable gain that you can get from your evergreen business, is that you're taking on new things in your life and new challenges that aren't always about your business, but give you that fulfillment that you're desiring most. Okay, another thing that I think is really important as far as the evergreen business is, and so this is where it's like, can you start an evergreen business day one? Yes and no. I think there's elements, if I look back on the last 6 years, that I could have put more evergreen emphasis around. And I'll talk about that in a few minutes, just as far as bringing people on your team, resources, etc. But I think it is important as you start up in business to work with other people that are maybe like 1 or 2 steps ahead of you and learn their frameworks, learn their models. One of the things though that I would say is still have that discerning viewpoint on anything that you're consuming. So, and I'll say more about that, is that having your vision, your values, and your goals articulated so that you're not just taking on a framework and saying, okay, yeah, boilerplate it, and I just copy everything that they're doing. That you need to have some level of discernment and even push back on some of those coaches and mentors and say, well, what if this and what if that? Or what if I want to take like 10% of what you're saying or 50% of what you're saying? Like, challenge the status quo. But sometimes you just don't know that in the very beginning. And so it's okay, I think, to take a model or a framework from that coach or that mentor that you've worked with, start applying it. But the red flag is just to stay in that loop of reapplying it versus, okay, how am I also looking at the analytics, the data to see if it's working for me and if I need to make some refinements. So where I'm getting at it is having your own playbook, having your own methodology, your own business model for what is important to you. And once you make that chasmic leap from someone else's model to now your model, from someone else's playbook to your playbook, then you're not necessarily in that evergreen business, I think. I think you're still trying to do all the things because this other person has said all the results that they've gotten, or they quote all these people that have worked for them that have gotten those same results. Just remember, though, that they may coach like 40 people, but they're sharing that same testimonial of like 2 or 3 people on their website or on their social media. I do that. Like, can I say that every single one of my clients, members, etc., have gotten the desired outcome that they've wanted from my offers? No. And I think any coach out there that says that that happens for all of their clients, members, course students, there's no way that someone can guarantee that. And I think you're going to run into problems too on social media platforms, on email platforms, if you're continuing to say those things. Side note, compliance, copywriting issues, privacy statements, all those things, take a look at those requirements legislatively. But I think getting back to you and your business, it's important, I think, that you have your own playbook so that you can continue to refine it. And where I talk about this the most is when we have our signature offer. If I know what my signature offer is, it's something that I'm known for, it's something that I can literally teach on the back of a napkin and someone can follow along with and make strides, make changes in their life or their business as a result. And it's generating 80% of my total revenue with 20% effort because I'm continually refining it over and over again. So initially following established business models or playbooks, I think, are good, but eventually you're going to need to make that shift into what am I known for and what can people count on me for? And what are my unique gifts, abilities, talents, etc., that people desire most? And not all people, not all 8 billion people on the planet, but the people that need what I have to offer right now. And it's going to help them transition or transform to their desired goals. So I've talked about a number of things, but I think now is the time to also talk about really around evergreen businesses. It's putting in the trust and also the delegation to systems, technology, and people that are going to help you grow and help you create that automation, to help you create that evergreen experience inside your business. There are still lots of things that I love to do myself. Like sometimes people will say to me, well, do you have a social media manager? Do you post your own content? There are things that I'm really good at that I'm just not prepared to let go of in my business. And I think that's okay. If I want to go fully evergreen, that's when I would make that investment to do that. You have to also ask yourself, do you like leading people? Do you like leading teams of people? I know lots of entrepreneurs that are not good at communication, that are not good at delegating. And this is something that they need to learn how to do. I did that for 27 plus years in my corporate days. I led massive teams of people. I know how to have conversations with people. I know how to inspire teams to take action, to deliver on results. It's not something that I need to learn how to do as an entrepreneur, yet I made a very committed decision early on in my business that I wanted to be more solopreneur in my business. And so that I rely more on technology than I do on people interacting with my customers. So I do a lot of like in-person customer touch points. And I have automation systems in the back end to make sure that things like fully like run smoothly. So the people that I bring onto my business need to be able to do those things. I have an amazing digital expert that knows how to build websites, that knows how to like links things like between integrators like Zapier or Make to my email funnels. I can create the content that I want, and then everything on the back end gets loaded up. That's what I need in my business. I like to be high touch point around my content and those interactions with my audience, with my customers. And then everything else that runs behind the scenes gets done by somebody else. And my bookkeeping gets done, my digital uploads all get done, all the connectivity that I have around my sales funnels gets done, and I don't even have to worry about it. I check in. I don't necessarily take anything for granted. I check in and I make sure that things are running to my level of expectation. So I think it's really important as you continue to build out this evergreen model is like, who are those people? And some of you might be listening now going, Brenda, I can't afford to bring on people. So let's talk about that with your offers. What is that signature offer that you have in right now that's bringing in 80% of your total revenue? How can we get it to 80% of your total revenue? So now you can start thinking, well, if I have this recurring revenue that's coming in month over month and it's contributing to 80% of my total revenue, I do have actually some guarantee that if I brought on this person and paid them $250 a month or $500 a month, that number one, I could maintain that level of consistency with them and that support. And does that free me up now to expand on my offers, to do other things in my life, to look at other revenue sources for my business? I think it would, but sometimes it's a cart horse thing. And so we don't know until we know. So you may need to get some coaching around that, right? To see how does that play out so that I can actually see myself delegating more so that I can take on other aspects in my business that I haven't yet to explore. And even if you're not ready yet and you're thinking, you know what, I might be 6 months out, it might be 10 months out, start thinking about who those people are right now. I was talking to a client the other day. She totally wants to do this in her business, and I love this idea, but she's got some things going on. She's got to move. She's got to do some other client work finished up. And I'm like, okay, but in the meantime, you could actually just put a job posting out for this person right now between all your connections on LinkedIn, your email list, etc. Just spend 15, 20 minutes, go on AI tools, go look at some job boards, articulate a job posting position, and just circulate that with your network and see who comes up. See who those people are, follow their content, see how they're sharing what they do on LinkedIn, et cetera, and see how they, could be an asset for your business. Whether or not you're in corporate or you've got your own business, I saw this so many times with department managers, but also business owners, is that we hire too late. We hire after the work has started, after you are burned out and drained. And we don't have people that in our network that we can just pull on quite easily. And so I'm constantly, this is just my nature, but I'm constantly collaborating with people. I'm pulling people into my podcast. I'm pulling people into my community. And I'm like, I might not work with you right now, but I might work with you in 2 years. You're somebody I want to keep in mind. I might still even refer them out to other people and then hear from those other contexts. Okay, so you worked with Sarah, you worked with Joanne. How did they do on that project? And I just, put a little notation somewhere in my Rolodex, in my CRM to say, you know what, I want to still keep this person in my radar. This person will be of value to me in my business. I know I'm going to be needing this type of support or this type of delegation in the future. I may not be ready for it right now, but I'm going to continue to keep them in the loop. And then stay up to date on things, because that's the other thing. Sometimes people pivot their business or their offerings and they may not be doing that anymore. I know people that used to be great copywriters for me and now they're doing something completely different. So keep on top of what those people are doing. And just so that when you do need them, you probably needed them 3 months before you actually called them, but at least you know what's happening with them. You know whether or not you've got 10 people that could be a possible fit for this role that you need in your business. But like I said, a lot of times business owners leave it way too late, 6 months, 6 months later than they really needed it. And then they're scrambling, right? They're burnt out. Because the other thing that you've also got to realize when you bring these people onto your team, you've got to work with them. You've got to shadow with them. They've got to shadow you. They've got to learn from you. If they're going to be taking on an aspect of what you do and represent you, they need to see you in those situations. So to just bring somebody on and have them like working for you by Monday, brilliantly, not to say the person's not brilliant or doesn't have the aptitude or the capacity to be brilliant for your team, but they need to see what you're doing. So think about it as like, okay, if I need this person in place in my business in 6 months because my business is going to grow or I'm going to take on this new aspect of my offers and I need this humming in 6 months, then you really should be hiring this person now. 3 to 6 months before you critically need that role in your business. So they have opportunities, situations to see you. You can proof their work. You can start delegating nuggets to them before you give them the whole enchilada. And you can see how they perform. And you can praise progress along the way. These are basic, simple ways that we manage and lead people. So just because you're a solopreneur and you're outsourcing work to a contractor doesn't mean you're still not leading people and developing people. You're developing that relationship, you're developing that collaboration and that partnership. So give yourself and them the time, the space, the capacity to learn from you. Okay, and then my last piece that I think is so important is exactly what I'm doing with you right now. Do I have notes on this? Absolutely. I've been going off my phone as I've been talking to you. But the key thing is that you take time out as a CEO of your business to reflect, to generate, to analyze, to then start implementing new ideas again. And so it's always in that cycle. I actually made that cycle. I think as a CEO, it's so critically important to spend time reflecting on your business, on your life, and how things are working for you. Analyzing data, quantitative, qualitative data sources. And so having that idea of like, what are those goals are for your business? If your goal is sales in your business and that's the only goal, think again. I think there's other goals that are going to be really important to you. So go back and listen to this podcast or watch this episode again, because I talked about a number of goals that I think are important to me besides just the revenue goals. So my time is really important. How many dog walks I'm getting in for the week are really important. So measure those things. So take time out to reflect every week, every month, every business quarter on the goals that you set out from the start, and analyze the data around it. Then what we do is we generate, right? We generate new goals, new commitments that are variations of what we had set before. So if you don't have that sort of cycle in place, we're just leaping from task to task to task. And this is why it's really important to reflect and then analyze and then generate the next priority that you're going to work on for that 3 months or 6 months, or even over the next week or 2 weeks, if that seems too far reaching for you. And then we go in and we implement, right? We go in and take action. We're not just sitting here noodling over plans and posting up things all over the place. We're actually taking action, and then we're reflecting, and then we're analyzing from the data source, and then we're generating another priority that we're going to work on. So there are some really great resources. If you haven't tuned into a past episode called The One Page Plan, I posted it up about a couple of months ago. I'd really recommend that you take a look at that podcast or that YouTube episode. And in that episode, in the show notes, I actually share a copy of a one-page plan so you can get started on it. I'm hoping today that this was beneficial and that you are taking away some really great gems about how to put in an evergreen business into your work, into your life, because I think substantial changes will happen to you and you'll see other goals in your life being able to take shape. And it's a really exciting time, I think, for midlife women business owners to be able to own their evergreen business from end to end. Reach out if you have questions. I'd be happy to help. And make sure you check out the Aligned AF community. I'll make sure that the link to the community is in there. It's a great community, lots of vibrant members that are in the community that are looking at their businesses and trying to create more of that evergreen experience. We'll see you soon.